Felicity from Felicity Duke Sewing, and today I'm going to do a little sew along for you on a Burda pattern. Now I'm going to have to keep my voice down a bit because it's for my husband for his birthday on Wednesday, and because I can't go out and buy anything, and I'm fed up with looking on Amazon and wherever else there is, I decided he'd probably like me to make him something, because I don't know if I've ever made him anything before. Oh yes, I've made him some shirts a while ago. Anyway, I'm going to do Burda 6718. I'm going to make him a hoodie. All right, now already I'm frustrated, and I don't know how you feel about Burda patterns, but they do frustrate me. I mean, I do like Burda patterns. I like the styles on them, but it's so frustrating because all their measurements, I don't know if you've ever used one before, but all their measurements, they're not like other patterns where they sensibly put it on the envelope or wherever. You have to go right inside here to find the measurements that you need. And then even when you find them, I find it inconclusive, really. So I have actually just found out this is probably too small for him. But hey ho, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to separate all my pieces. I'm not going to cut around them because it's a waste of time. You know, so it's a waste of time cutting all around those lines, and then you put it on a fabric and you've got to cut it round again. So all I do is separate. All right, so I'm going to get on, I'm going to crack on and do that. Right, so I've separated all my pattern pieces now. I'm going to do view A, all right, with the hood. Yeah, so I've separated all the pieces. So this is another thing about Burda. Sorry to harp on, but you know, I may as well tell you why I'm here. Not everything has the information on the pattern piece of what it is, so you have to start cross references just to frustrate me a little bit more. So this is 5. This is piece 5. So on there it doesn't actually tell you what it is. It says that you've got to fold it, but where you've got to put it is another matter. So you've got to look at piece 5 and then cross-reference it on here, which tells you piece 5 is the sleeve band. And I know that I can see by the shape of it, but if you're quite new, you wouldn't know that, and it is frustrating. All I can say is they do some great shapes, great designs, great patterns, but the actual pattern itself is frustrating. So I'm just going to get these all laid out on the fabric. And by the way, I'm using a loop back sweatshirting, cotton loop back sweatshirting, not terribly heavy because I know that he doesn't like really heavy things. The only thing I'm worried about this is he likes his clothing really loose. He's a bit like me really, like 2 peas in a pod. We like quite loose, comfortable clothing. So yeah, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'll take a picture after when I've given it to him. Yeah, and some ribbon, some navy ribbon. I don't know whether that's the best quality either, really. It looks a bit polyesterish or acrylic. I don't know. Anyway, it'll do. I'm just going to lay everything out on the fabric. Because I don't want to waste too much material, I'm going to, I've cut a piece off, which is long enough to put the back and the front on here. And because I don't want to waste any material, what I've done is I've cut a piece off and then I fold it into the centre. If you don't do that, you end up with a lot of wastage, because what happens, a lot of people try and find the fold and they put it in a long line, and then you're left with 2 smaller pieces. This way it saves a lot of material. All right, so I'm going to pin this on, and incidentally, the only piece that I cut actually next to the pattern, the line, is anything that needs to go on the fold, because otherwise if I don't cut that piece off, I can't see the fold. it the way that I cut out the body front and back, it has saved me a little bit of material at the side, because this is a really wide width of fabric. I'll tell you in a minute. I managed to get the pocket out as well, so that saved me a bit of fabric, which is grand. On the floor it goes. Got to pin the sleeves up on this sleeves and the hood, and the rest of it comes out of the ribbing. So there you go. Down. Try and keep all your patterns going down the same way, and keep your straight grain line straight, parallel to your selvage edge, right the way down, or to the fold, which I'm doing at the moment. So that now the sleeve I took up. See, the thing is, with a raglan sleeve sometimes, you know, they look very, very long, and it did look long. But you have to remember that the raglan sleeve comes right from the neck, and so it does look too long sometimes. I hope I'm right, because I've taken it up just a little bit. We'll find out soon anyway. Right, so I'm going to crack on and get this pinned on there. And let's see where we can get I can get the hood, I think. If I move this down, see, I don't look at the pattern layouts. It's something you can do when you're quite experienced, because it helps you to save fabric. Because sometimes I've got a lot less fabric than I need, like a lot of us do. We just buy fabric willy-nilly and then try and fit things into it. And so that's something that comes with experience, really. You know how to save a bit of fabric, and then all those little bits of fabric, 30 years later, like me, they're all there in a box. Right, so I'm just going to fiddle about and get this on and get this cut out. I've decided to pin the hood and the sleeve over by the selvage edge. Because I would have more material left over pulling them this way and having more on the double there, and I can make one for my little grandson as well. Okay, so don't be, if you're not that experienced at sewing, don't forget your straight grain, as I said, parallel to your selvage edge. If you were to lay this parallel, this isn't the straight grain, it's this piece, and the same with here. Lay your straight grain on first. Alright, I'm just going to cut out. I've now cut all the pieces out. I have done these are the rib pieces that go along the bottom of the sweatshirt and also on the cuff. I have done the bottom a little bit differently because they asked you to put this on the fold, and which meant there was only one seam to join it together, which I didn't think would look right on the centre back or just on one side. So I'm going to be doing 2 seams, one each side. Right, I'm just going to do all the markings, so there's no markings there. Now, I'm a snipper. I don't know what you are, but I'm a snipper. A snipper and tailor's tacks is what I like to do. Alright, so any markings on here. This is the back. Now, most patterns you'd have 2 snips at the back and 1 at the front. No, Burda have to be different. Alright, so nothing on the back. On that, nothing to snip. On this one, they always do 1 snip or mark or notch, whatever you do it on the front. Okay, so where this is there, 1 snip there where you see that line. All right, the other thing that we need to do is to do the placement lines with tailor's tacks. All right, placement line for the pocket. So I'm going to do a tailor's tack here, and if you haven't done tailor's tacks before, I don't know if you can see that, if I can get it in. Right, so I know that the top of the pocket is going to go here. So get yourself some thread, a different colour that shows up. Right, you don't want it in navy blue. I'm doing navy blue. So you go in, leave about an inch out, go in again, and pull it through, and leave a loop of an inch, and cut off that bit, an inch there. Right, so now we're going to go down to this piece. So I'm going to go here, tailor's tack at the top of that piece to show where the bottom of the pocket is going to go. Okay, pull it up. There we go. Now I'm also going to do a snip here as well. This is the bottom of it. Just a small one. Don't go crazy and start snipping through the whole lot. Right, so here is the sleeve, are the sleeves. And that's where I've taken it up in the centre there in hope that I've done the right thing. Who knows? Right, so as we did one snip on the back of the top, the main bodice, we now need to do that one snip on the sleeve here that will correspond with the one snip that we've just done. Be careful with your snips, don't go crazy, only a small snip. All right, there we go. Let's see if the hood needs anything. Well, yes, the hood does need something. Now I have to say, where rivets and holes and whatever you call them are concerned, I don't have a lot of luck. And I'm happier doing a buttonhole. So that's what I'm going to do for a hole. I'm going to do a nice buttonhole. I'm going to put a piece of interface in behind it before I do it, just so that it comes out right. So I'm going to put one tailor's tack there, just to mark where I've got to put the buttonhole. And let's have a look at this. This is the pocket. Can't see anything on there to do with snips or tailor's tacks. Most of this hoodie I will be machining on the overlocker. Don't worry if you haven't got an overlocker. The seams aren't going to fray. Everything's cool. Just do whatever you normally do. But some of it has got to be done on the sewing machine. So I've got navy blue in my sewing machine and I've got black thread in my overlocker. So if you're not familiar with the tailor's tacks that I did, let me show you how it marks. So get all your pins out. I tend to leave the pins in until I'm ready to use the pattern, particularly if you've got a lot of pieces. Okay, and then on the instructions, as they ask you to use the piece, then I take the pins off. Right, so here's our tailor's tack here on here. I hope you can see this a bit. Right, so get hold of your pattern here and hold this so that it doesn't go anywhere, and pull that off and leave the loop behind. And this one too, get hold of this and pull it off. Okay, so there are your markings for your pockets. And that's the first thing we've got to do, and that is the pockets before we can sew it together. So let's get the snippers. So what you do now is you pull it away, okay, and then you can see the stitches here like that. Pull it apart and snip the stitches. All right, and snip the stitches. So here I have prepared the pocket that goes to the front. I hope you can see that. It's difficult, isn't it, when it's navy? Right, so you get 5/8 seam allowance on this. So I've overlocked down this edge, which is the long sloped edge. Okay, I've overlocked and I've top stitched that down. Okay, so let's go to our tailor's tacks, and you will see that these are the markings for you to place the pocket. So tuck that in, tuck all the seams in, that should be 5/8 here and here, and I'm going to pop a few pins in. Let's bring that down to that edge a little bit. That's it, perfect. And I'm just going to pop a few pins in. I'll start up here so I know that's straight. So they're pinned them on, matching up the tailor's tacks. Now I'm going to machine along the top here, along the top there. Don't machine down here, otherwise we won't have anywhere to put hands. And then down here as well. This one, the narrow, the short piece at the bottom here, just needs a top stitch quite close to the fold. This one also needs a top stitch quite close to the fold, and the same over there. I'm hoping you can see this. I've now sewn the pocket on. Don't forget to back stitch here at each end and here each end, because it needs to be strong if you put your hands in your pockets. So I've done that. Now almost the rest of it has to be done on the overlocker. Don't forget to pull out your tailor's tacks as well. If you can't get them out, use some tweezers to pull them. Right, so I'm now going to sew. I'm now going to machine on the overlocker the back and the front together at the side seams, and the sleeves on the underarm sleeve. My overlocker is set to the differential, and that's because this has quite a lot of stretch in it. Okay, so once you've done your sleeve, once you've overlocked or sewn up your sleeve on the underarm, turn it round the right way and make sure that you match it up with the notch that you did on the front and the back. Now obviously I'm using the overlocker, so I can't keep pins in, but I'm okay doing it without pins. But just to show you, get your underarm seams together first, and then everything else will come into play. Right, that goes there, and here are the two notches that are matching. Hope you can see that. I think you can see that. Two notches there together. I'm going to overlock right the way round the sleeve opening, put in both sleeves in on both sides. So the next thing that we have to do, I finished putting both of the sleeves in. It's a super quick sweatshirt to make, or hoodie. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but I've got both sleeves on now. Right, it's a very quick, simple thing to do, and a very good first project, particularly if you've got an overlocker. Right, so next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to sew the ribbon for the bottom into a circle. So sew down both sides. I'm going to overlock them, and one of the drawbacks of sewing with an overlocker on something like this, like a thick sweatshirt or something, is the bulk going through the overlocker. So I'm going to show you a way how you could alleviate some of that. So I'm now going to sew the cuffs into a circle and the rib for the bottom. Sadly, I wasn't able to show you how to alleviate the bulk when you're machining seams on ribs and sweatshirts, because you just couldn't see it because it was so dark, so I had to wipe it off and try again. Just turn your seams one way and one the other, one way and one the other, so it's not too bulky when you machine it on. Right, so I've done the bottom one as well. So actually this is actually quite easy to put on, because the back and the front are the same distance, they're the same width. All right, you don't have one wider than the other. And so what I would do in that case is I would divide this into 4, and then again I would snip, but please be really careful. I'm kind of I'm very aware of the mistakes that can be made with snipping. The horrors I have gone through showing people how to make things and told them they can snip, and they've gone right into the seam allowance and the whole garment is full of snips, like more than 5/8 long. Very scary. And they look at me like I can do something about it, but of course I can't. All right, so tiny snip, please. Tiny snips. There you go, just on the edge there. No big deal. There you go. Nothing like 5/8. The other thing you may have noticed is that I take quite a chunk off when I'm doing the overlocking. Now, the reason for this is we've got, on this garment, there's a 5/8 seam allowance, and so you need to take a decent bit off. Otherwise, your stitching where your seam is supposed to be will be less than 5/8. All right, so that's why I've done that. So all we need to do now is to turn this inside out, turn your garment inside out. I think that's the best thing to do. Turn that inside out. And then also fold this in half as well. Fold it in half. Don't worry about the snips, just doing a tiny snip, because the overlocking or your seam allowance is going to take that away anyway. You won't see it. Right in there and in there. Right, so all we've got to do now is pop this inside, put an outside seam to the outside, there to there. I always do it on the inside, find it easier, so because I overlock from the inside as well. Right, so pin on each of the 4 places. We'll go from there. So one that side. You will need to stretch it a bit, but they are expecting you to stretch it. All right, ribbon over there. It's not a good match actually, this navy. Lots of different navies. And when you have to get so much on the internet, you just have to hope that it's the right colour, don't you? Right, so that one's there. Right, match up the centre of this where you've got a snip here, match that up with your snip on the centre there, and I'm going to get on and start overlocking. So always machine the ribbon with the garment inside out and the ribbon inside, and sew it like this on the machine. All right, flat on the machine with the ribbon on top. So we're on to the final piece now of this hoodie, and that is, well, the hood itself. So I've just thought a couple of more markings we are going to need on here. Right, so here, along here, there's various marks depending on what size you're doing. So I'm doing the largest one on this pattern, so that is the 46. You put a snip there because that is where the shoulder seam goes. That is your guide to match up with the shoulder seam. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to snip here where it needs folding over, and I'm also going to snip there. Now, I did say before that I was going to do a buttonhole, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm not doing rivets. I've had too many disasters with rivets, so we'll give up on that one, and I'll do a nice buttonhole. In fact, the machine I've got does quite a good buttonhole, to be honest. So, right, I'm just going to take the pins out, and then I'm going to machine all the way around the edge. Well, I'm going to overlock to join this together, and then I'll be ready. I'll get ready to do the buttonhole. I'm all set now to do the buttonholes. I've put some interfacing on the back here because, well, it doesn't like it when it's when it doesn't have any body behind it. So place that on there, pull the needle in, pull the pin out that I've had there to guide me. Right, I've got a button in the back because my machine requires you to put a button in the back of the buttonhole foot, and also to pull a little black lever down here. So I'm going to go over it twice just to make it more stable. Gosh, can't find it. There you are. Okay, so I'm going to get on and do one the other side. I'm now preparing to attach the hood on, right? And there's another little piece that I'd forgotten about for markings. So it's the sleeve marking, because the shoulder seam is actually between these two seams, so you can't line it up with the sleeve seam. It has to be on the shoulder. So I'm just going to lay that on there like that, and it's in fact here, this snip here. So do your snip, all right, to let you know where you've got to place the hood. What have I done with the hood? Trouble is, my husband keeps coming down, and I have to keep shoving it away, so it seems like it's taking forever. Anyway, I'm just going to lay this on. I've now put the I've pinned on the hood onto the neck edge. I've centralized it. I've found the center front and the center back of both the hood and the actual main piece. All right, I've matched up the shoulder seam, yeah, on both pieces. So I'm just going to machine. Now this I'm actually going to machine first before I overlock it. So I've just got this finished in time because it's my husband's birthday tomorrow. So I'm pleased with it. I hope it fits him. I'll get a photo taken. I'll get a video or a picture taken to show him. I need to give it a good press, all right? And yeah, quite enjoyed it. It's quite a quick make. So listen, if you enjoyed sewing along with me, then please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any, because I've got lots of very interesting things coming up. And yeah, so join me again. Thanks very much. Bye.